Yep. We're doing it live? There we go. There I am.
There you are.
It's a Friday. Father's Day weekend. Merely Bo. Gibby here.
Hi.
If you we'll have some Stefanski. We're going to have a little fun on the program today, but I did want to ask you this. Yesterday we were walking in, and it was it very much was last day of school vibes. Like there were quite literally player cars stacked up, loaded up and ready, and southbound and down or east or westbound and down as soon as they were cleared. If you were an NFL player, and young Brock and Dr. J can weigh in on this as well, if you were an NFL player without family and you had this and you had a 40-day window, as Kevin Stefanski told us yesterday, it's 40 days. If you had a 40-day window of freedom to go and be and do whatever you wanted, what would you do?
It's 101.
I just go straight gas right out of the gates. It's a Friday.
It's
Friday.
Number one, since practice ended yesterday at noon, I'm probably still not sober. I'm definitely rolling right through that. We're having.
But you're going to do it. You're going to just hit it here right away. You're not getting out of town.
Nope. No. Be patient. Be patient. Like enjoy. By the way, the best weather in this city is right now.
Yeah, I know.
Minus the fact that it's rainy and 50 degrees at night.
Yeah, I don't even want to talk about it. It just makes me angry of what we got.
Yeah.
What's coming.
No, I know.
It's not
but, like, I'm not in a giant hurry to leave just yet.
Yeah.
I'm probably hitting the golf course. I'm probably hitting a very nice golf course if I can.
Well, you can. You're an NFL player. You're probably a member at a very nice golf course.
Yeah. Like, I might have myself a little house or a condo up at the islands.
God, you love a cottage. You love a little cottage, a little sneak away.
Yeah, absolutely.
Little private Gibby. That was the happiest I ever saw you. Undisclosed location. Like you had your own little private cottage.
I was trying to explain to these guys, like, to Siciliano, because he's like, when did you talk to Isaiah McGuire? I go, fireside chat.
Fireside chat.
Excuse me? I said, rookie minicamp weekend.
Yeah,
brought him over to the undisclosed location. Flipped on the fireplace on a Saturday and did a 15-minute bomb with him.
That's all you need. That's all you need. Brock, where would yours be? What do you got? What are you doing? You got 40 days off. You're an NFL player. You're around their age. You're unfettered.
I would personally. I've never been out of the country, so I would go on an extravagant vacation out of the country, especially considering I'd be spending the winter in Cleveland.
Yeah.
So I would leave the country, I think.
Yeah, but you're not not necessarily spending the winter. You're out by mid-January, hopefully February.
Yeah.
It's cold in November and December.
Yeah.
And into January, but you're only playing 1 or 2 games maybe in January.
Where's Dr. J at? Where's his? What's he doing? You got 40 days of freedom, baby. You're unfettered.
I gotta make this very specific.
I knew
if I'm single, no family. I'm going Miami first.
Yeah.
Out the country.
Where though?
I would do one of the islands. I think the Keys is what it is. The Keys Islands.
Yeah.
Well, you're
Key
still
West.
in the
You're still in the country with that.
As far as
Florida
Florida
Keys.
goes.
So you have that.
Florida Keys, not Miami. Sorry
You
about that.
You do a little. You're doing Caribbean though. You're doing the Bahamas. You're doing the Caymans, St. Lucia, St. Bart's.
All of that.
Something like that. Maybe a little cruise.
Say that again.
Little cruise, maybe go from one to the next. Private boat
next.
trip, one to the next. How's this island? This is good. Oh, I like Jamaica. This took.
Exactly.
That's what you're
thinking. Don't they usually start in Miami?
I think you can go out of Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Tampa.
Nice. See,
one of those.
I would do the full on tour de Florida, Bahamas.
So that puts you out in a boat in the middle of the ocean.
See,
you're gonna do that. We had this conversation earlier.
Well, he doesn't want to be
being able to see land.
I don't want to be too far into the ocean, but with that being said, I
well,
have
cruise.
To accept that. I will have.
Have you been on a cruise?
Yep.
No. Brock, have you been on a cruise?
Nope. I have.
Yeah. It's pretty surreal.
Yeah.
To I noticed it.
Port.
Well, yeah. What I noticed was we the very first night I was on the Buckeye cruise, we left port in Miami, went and had a meal, and then by the time I stumbled back to my abode, I went out on the balcony and there was nothing anywhere. And then you go, oh, we're a long way from anywhere, and if this big sucker sinks, good night, nurse. So keep going, baby. Keep going, baby.
That's what I told him earlier.
Yeah, you're a long way out. I would do one of two things. I think that the key to this is being single, right? So you being single or with, a girlfriend or something like that, but without the family. And if you had, or before the family occurred, and you have 40 free days. I'm taking 20 to 25 of those, and I haven't decided which one I'm going to do. I would either do the New Zealand, Australia double, because when I look at that now, that seems so, I don't know if I'll ever get there. That air travel is so daunting. The idea of, I remember we were in Bora Bora on our honeymoon, and I remember the pilots, and I don't know if this is true or not, but this is what he said, that you're essentially halfway to Sydney. And I remember thinking, like, my God, I felt like I was on that plane forever. It was like 8 hours or something. I'm like, this is nuts. And that was from L.A. So that amount of time would allow for me, I think, to fully explore Oceania. And then the other one I thought would be Europe. Like, you could do all of Europe, because Europe sometimes gets daunting to me. My wife wants to go over there so bad, and I'm like, okay, do we do just England, or do you do Italy? Do you do Spain? Do you do Greece? If you had 30 days, you could do it all. You would knock the whole thing out. So those would be the two. Those would be the two. I know a lot of our guys go to Asia. They're big. They go to, and I know Siciliano mentioned that. Like, there's a lot of folks go to Asia from time to time. That is not appealing to me. I'm sure it's great. It's just, for me, it's not on the bucket list.
I think I would go. I would be fine going to Europe and those places, and maybe I go for 10 days, 12 days.
Yeah.
But I want to sit. I want to sit at a pool. I want to play golf.
You're a man. You're 40 Gibby.
I know.
You're not being 25-year-old
but
world by the tail Gibby.
I mean, I would want to include my friends.
Well,
my buddies.
You could bring them.
Yeah, let's go on a golf trip. Shenanigans at night, golf during the day, rinse and repeat.
You do that now.
I know. I don't know.
You got to go back to the 23-year-old Gibby who's running from the cops in Bowling Green. You got to get in the headspace of that guy.
Was a little earlier.
20-year-old.
It was 20.
Maybe 20-year-old.
It was definitely not of legal drinking age.
I think it was one of those things, though, when you have to be where your feet are. And I asked Coach this question yesterday when he joined us, kindly enough to join us in studio. But, like, you've got to take that time to unplug. Because we live in a world in this, our business is part of it. Their business is absolutely it. And I mentioned this to him. Like, I think for a lot of you out there listening, you think, okay, like, these guys work their tails off and everybody knows it around the clock from end of July until the season's over. And then I think you feel like it's unplugged, but it really isn't. It's right on to the next. It's into free agency. It's into the combine. It's into draft prep. It's top 30 visits. It's the draft, rookie minicamp, OTAs, minicamp, done. And then you've got 40 days.
Yeah.
And that's really the thing that is such a critical time. And we had Jerome Baker in this week, and he mentioned to us about how, I don't get to spend Thanksgivings and Christmas. I asked him, I said, what are you going to do? And he said, I'm going to be with my family because I don't see them the rest of the time. And so an NFL player has a finite amount of time that they're an NFL player, and they have a finite amount of time where kind of all of these things cross over, and you do get that freedom. And it was funny, like you saw Wyatt and Carly and them packing the car, and away they go, and you think, well, they're going home to family, and where they're all
Sure.
of that's where they're going. A lot of our guys are on a plane out of here, and so it's a cool thing. It's probably as close to like last day of school vibes as you're gonna feel, because that's what it felt like yesterday.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm racking my brain because I'm not.
I'm going to give you yours. This is yours. This is what you do. You're going to Scotland and Ireland on a golf trip, pub tour vacation with your buddies.
Get me into Ireland a little
that's
bit.
as I said,
Yeah.
Scotland, Ireland.
Yeah.
So you're playing the Rota, the British Open Rota. You're getting the courses in Ireland. You're going to Guinness. And you're going to
Jameson.
You're going to love. You're going to go to Redbreast. You're going to go to all of those places, Bushmills. You're going to go to those places. Then you're going to do a little Scotch tasting, hit up that a little bit, play some golf in between.
Fine.
I think that's yours. That's what although you don't get the only thing you don't get there is you don't get the pool. You like the pool.
I do love a good
You're not
pool.
getting a pool there.
But if I'm already going for 10, 12 days,
yeah.
Like, again, I don't mind being here and going out at night.
No,
in
I
the
understand
20s.
that, but they can't really do that here, and be
Correct.
anonymous.
Yeah.
Like, again, like from their perspective, they can't be out here
No,
down on the flats
I'm
cruising
trying
around.
to think where I'd want to go. Like, I get the whole Miami vibe, and
No,
I've
that
done
ain't
it,
for me.
but
I'm not
it
for
was
me.
not.
That's
It was
not
not.
my
It wasn't for me in my 20s. It really
No.
wasn't.
No.
So that's what I'm trying to think. What was the city? What would be the place? I mean, I love New York City, but
Good
it gets
town.
awful hot
Yeah.
that time.
Well, you
of
could
year.
do the Long Island. You're an NFL player. You could play
Now,
Shinnecock.
part of me wants to go Boston, and then how about the Cape?
You could do that too.
Hanging out.
You could do that. Play a little golf.
Yeah,
Take it in.
that's the.
You can't get in that water though.
No,
We were there in August, beginning of August, late July last year
cold.
in Maine. It was southern Maine too. It was
Yep.
Kennebunkport. Water was brisk.
Yes.
Like I put like 1 foot in. I'm like, yeah, I'm good, boys. I'll see you on down the road. I don't need that. Now they got in it. God bless them. But I'm good. I'm not doing that.
No, we did that with our kids too.
Yeah.
I'd have to go somewhere in the Caribbean. I would definitely go. Give me something where I can walk out and literally, like, my little cabana's right on the water. There, maybe the floor is clear so I can see the fish and everything.
Oh, those are crazy.
That's just
what
walk
we
out
did.
and be like, all right, I got to hop on a boat to get back to the mainland to go play some golf, drink a little bit, come back, and
They have ferries for that.
that's
Yeah.
I don't dismiss the Key West thing.
Keys are
Because
good. You're not playing any golf there. That's why you need the Dominican. Then you can do the golf. Then you could play Tooth of the Dog, and you could play.
Or
You
Cancun.
could do that. Cancun has that
I
too.
can do
yeah.
a little Mexican
You could do a little
trip.
Mexico.
That's-
Yeah. Puerto Vallarta, Z's favorite joint. Z and Dr. Haas.
Can't get hurt by that. Riviera Maya is also something I really like. I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah.
So,
World is your oyster.
yeah, man, you totally threw me for a loop today.
Early on, I did too.
Well, we got 10 minutes out of it. Yeah, no, I'm trying to remember what young JG did.
It's just the idea of that. It's rare in life that you have that type of freedom to go whenever you want
Yeah.
without having people pulling at you in other directions. And it's rare. It's rare to be unencumbered, have wealth, and have freedom all at the same time.
Yeah.
It's a thing that most of us don't ever have that, and they have it. And it was cool watching them do it yesterday. It is Father's Day weekend. Happy Father's Day, my friend.
Same to you, my friend.
Thank you. Yeah. It looks like the weather's going to suck tomorrow. It's kind of looking like it. Is that what have we
Might
committed
be
to
gone
it?
by like 1 or 2 o'clock, maybe.
All right, let's pull up.
At
the
least on this
accuracy.
side of town, it had gone
I'm
by.
sure
1
it'll
or 2
linger.
o'clock.
You didn't? Wasn't it last week? You had a perfect day, and I had all rain. Last Sunday,
Yep.
I think. Yeah. All right. Let's see what we're. Ooh.
Starting tonight, it's.
Variable cloudiness, couple of shower. A high of 68 tomorrow is all.
Oh, that's right. It's June.
Wow.
But it's June.
Oh no.
Let's hang out in the 60s.
Yeah.
awful.
98% chance of
Suck.
rain. It's not a. Oh, it is. It's 3/4 of an inch.
Yeah. It's a lot of rain tomorrow.
Couple of showers and a thunderstorm. Yeah, it is.
But it's not.
stinks.
It does move out for Saturday night.
Sunday's
and Sunday.
the day. Sunday, you're still going to be cloudy, but at least you're going to warm up a little bit and be able to get out a little bit. I was
Yes.
watching Oakmont this morning, and I know we'll talk a little bit about it at greater
Yeah, on
length here in a
Peacock.
half hour. Pissed me off that it was on Peacock right away, so that annoyed
Garbage.
me.
I turned it on here at USA. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, that's
Come
on a
on.
smart TV?
No.
Oh, that stinks.
Yeah.
You know what I think would be so difficult for those guys to do, and I would imagine that the NFL equivalent would be playing in extreme weather, whether it be snow or rain or wind or whatever,
Cold.
and we deal with it a lot
Yeah.
here, obviously. Not for much longer once we get the dome, but for now. And I was thinking, like, for them, the hardest thing has got to be the mentality of it. Because every tee box they step on in their life that's a par 4, they expect to make 3, and they're okay with 4. When you step on to the tee box at Oakmont, you're thrilled with a 4, and you're okay with a 5. And that has got to be a hell of a thing to wrap your head around. I watched Victor Hovland this morning, who got it to 3 under, and then he had the double, I think, on 2. Or it was, I don't know if it was 2 or 12. It was
Yeah,
his second hole of the back. I'm sorry, 2 or 11. He had a double. And I watched it, and I thought to myself, like, I watched him hit into the rough and then kind of pitch out, couldn't get all the way out, get up, and all of a sudden he was up there and he was putting for bogey. It was like a 15-footer, and you watch, he missed it. He ended up doubling, but it was like if he makes that, that's the best 5 of his life. And I saw Robert McIntyre said this morning. He said that's the best level par round I'll ever play in my life. And that's the attitude. So that's the thing they've got to get to. They got to get to the attitude of, and that's got to be the biggest hurdle, that par is all I am shooting for here. And if I get bogey, that's okay too. Just don't let it turn into a double or a triple, because you can't ever dig out of it because there are no birdies. And it's got to be like an NFL team playing in the muck or playing in the snow or the wind, and just realizing like you're not going to score every possession. Take some clock, get some first down, win the field position. It's just a total mentality shift.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
That's the Browns-Bills snow globe game.
Right.
2007.
I was there.
Same.
Yeah.
Like, our goal is to get to 10 points, because
That's
if
it.
we get there, we don't think they can get to 10.
No.
So let's find a way. I think it was 4 field goals, maybe 5 field. We exceeded 10, but not by much.
Well, it was it was Phil Dawson. That game was a
And
crazy
Zasty.
game. Crazy game. Yeah. Yeah.
But like, you're 100% correct. You're happy with, okay, we got something out of it, or we at least turn the field position so they've got to go 85 yards in a blinding driving snowstorm.
Yeah, that's it. And
Okay.
that's what I think they're
Right.
doing over there. I don't know. I mean, Sam Bird shot 65 today over there.
5 under today, or just for today. He's
So
3
I had
under
that
over.
well wrong, because I thought for sure the 66 from JJ Spahn yesterday would be the low round of the tournament, and already today this morning to get a 65 this morning, that thing was a brute. That treated the world's best like ragdolls. Hovland survived. He's almost done. He's 3 under on his round. He's 2 under for the tournament, 2 back. But again, he's got 2 to play. So it was number 2 where he doubled, which has been one of the tougher, more difficult holes on the whole course.
I mean, Scheffler's +3. He's even for the day, and he's probably ecstatic with that.
Yeah, he was. He was.
I mean, I don't know how you couldn't be.
What did Koepka end up at? He had a time when he was kind of making a run at it, and
He
then
was within 1.
He was. He had a putt to take the outright lead at one point, and then I didn't see what he ended up with.
He ends up with a 74.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Ends up at +2. He was at -2. He got to -3.
Yeah.
He had actually
He had
a
at
chance to go
-3
to
with a chance to go to 4. That's when
Yeah.
I saw him do that and get it to there. So
Like Jason Day's got one of the better rounds of the day going. He's 4 under today, and is that congratulations? That gets you to +2.
yeah, 6 over yesterday. So
I mean, Scheffler's at 3 over.
you know
DeChambeau hasn't teed off yet, but he finished 3. How about John Rahm? Rahm was 1 under.
yeah.
He just wrapped up. He totally imploded. Goes 5 over on the day, 75. He's
Oh,
now
jeez.
4 over.
Yeah.
But he was
in the mix for
he
a
was
while.
there.
Yeah, he started off, very much. Yeah, and then it just falls apart on you. I was talking to legendary, for the longest time, he's probably the longest tenured beat guy with the down in Columbus with the Ohio State football team. Tim May used to work at the Dispatch and then
Legend.
Letterman Row. Yeah, absolutely. Legend. Great dude. And what he's done in retirement, and I think this is one of the coolest things. So one of the things he's done since he's retired is he volunteers every year at the U.S. Open. So he's on my Columbus show every Friday at 10:30.
Sure.
And so this first time I noticed is like 4 years ago, and he didn't tell me that he was doing it, but he hops on the phone. I'm like, where are you? And he's like, I'm at the Country Club Brookline. What? What are you talking about? So he goes every year. So he was at Country Club Brookline, and then he was at LACC, and then he did
Nice.
Pinehurst, and then this year he's at Oakmont. And I asked him, I'm like, how do you describe Oakmont? Because I was listening to Scheffler yesterday, and he said there aren't really any strategic choices you have to make here. Just hit it straight. Everything's right in front of you. Just hit it straight and try to keep it in the fairway. And if you do that, you're fine. But there aren't really that many strategic choices. There's no rain, or there's no water. There's no trees. So you just blast it. If you hit it straight, you should be okay.
Stay out of the sand and
In the rough,
Yeah.
most especially. And I said, well, what is the biggest secret? And the way I thought it was so interesting how he described the greens to the collar to the fairway. He says it's like they've been like lined in velvet. Like that's kind of what they look like. Just that short, that tight. And so like you can't even really tell the difference between the fairway and the greens when you're standing at them. So you don't really know if it's a good shot or not. He also said that it's, despite it only having a 70-foot difference in elevation, that there's incredible elevation on every hole. And so there's humps in every fairway that you can bleed off here or there. And that basically there's no such thing as like a flat lie. Everything's on a lie. And then I said, do the members like it?
Yeah, because we had that conversation yesterday.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd like to be a member there.
Yeah, I'm not good. I'm definitely not good enough. And he said that it's funny you asked that. He said that I actually talked with 2 members yesterday who they do, but what they like is when they bring somebody who hasn't played there to Oakmont and to watch them try to. So in other words, they like watching people struggle. Is the long and short of it.
I mean, that's what Xander Schauffele said earlier in the week. He goes, we have weeks like this on the PGA calendar just so everyone in the world can make fun of us. Because we're human.
That's right. And it's also what I think's cool about the U.S. Open. It's probably my third favorite. I probably go British Masters are kind of tied, then U.S. Open underneath, and then PGA is just such a it's just anonymous. There's nothing to it. It doesn't. They don't have an identity at all. I think they're trying to get back and get an identity back, but right now they don't really have one. But what is the identity of this one is it's the one weekend a year where you see them really struggle. And that I do enjoy that.
Yeah.
I do enjoy that. And I do enjoy them playing these traditional courses that we see. I think the PGA is the one that could really needs kind of a little bit of a shot in the arm. But this one I do like. There's a very specific feel to the U.S. Open.
Yeah. No, it'd be great if we can stop putting it on Peacock in the morning.
Listen, dude.
Yesterday was a beautiful day. USA had it all day till 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
Great. And then Peacock carried the rest. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
By 5 o'clock, I'm onward with my day. But how can I at least just watch it? There's 2 groups I can watch on usopen.com. Now, it just started at 1 o'clock on NBC. NBC has it now till 7 o'clock.
Yeah. Look, I live in a college football world, and like this, I'm used to this.
I know.
So this is, and look, we dealt with this in the NFL. You deal with it with the Thanksgiving games.
There was
the
a
Christmas
playoff
games.
game.
Yeah, you're used to this. Playoff games where sports is being leveraged to make you sign up for apps.
Yep.
And I'm just too lazy to cancel them. So, like, I've had Peacock for like 4 years, and the only thing I watch on it is like 4 Buckeye games, 4 Buckeye basketball games, a Buckeye football game, and round 2 of the U.S. Open. That's the only time I ever look at it.
Yeah, I had it. I canceled it. I haven't gone back. If the Buckeyes are on and we're actually home and not traveling, I'll go to a bar.
Well, it's never going to be a big game because all those are going to be at noon on Fox always.
I've got some sound bites from the
he's
OSU
my guy.
AD.
He's Ross Bjork. He's my guy. I'm a fan of that guy. He's saying that he's finally somebody down there is fighting back other than me about what should get done on that side of things. Nick Chubb penned his thank you to Cleveland on an Instagram post. I don't need to read it all.
No.
But it's a really it's what you think it would be. I mean, it's everything you'd want it to be. I think.
Did you watch the video?
I did.
It was
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, it was. It's really cool. I think the last line is really important. This isn't goodbye to what we built, but it's thank you from the trust, the passion, the moments that made me feel like I belonged here from day one. Cleveland, you'll always have a piece of my heart until we meet again, with a heart and then the Batman emoji or the bat emoji for Nick Chubb.
Yeah. You'll be back when we put you up into the Ring of Honor and the Bronze Legends Club.
He's we've talked a lot about it this week, and I was at a corporate partners event with AB, and AB talked about it a little bit, and I asked him about it, and he goes, I said, this is the business, and before I even got it out, he goes, it sucks. It sucks. And he's right, it does. It does suck. It sucks that this is the business of the NFL. It sucks that Nick had the injuries that he had. As I said earlier in the week when we kind of talked about it, I'm just incredibly appreciative that we got him for as long as we did and we got him healthy for as long as he did, because the injury that he had in college could have derailed his entire career from Jump Street, and it didn't. And instead we got this brilliance. We got 5 brilliant years out of him that no one is ever going to forget. And I think I really do. I think he's on a very short list of most popular Cleveland Browns ever. I really do, because those guys that played so long ago. There's still a lot of you out there, obviously, who remember. There's still quite a few who remember Cardiac Kids. There's a lot of you obviously remember Kozar and all of that. But as we get farther and further away from Jim Brown and all of those guys, Nick Chubb is going to be one of those. Nick Chubb is going to be the way that folks our age talk about like Eric Metcalf and like what he meant, or Biner and Mack, or Clay Matthews, or any of that stuff. Bernie, remembering those moments, there will be a generation of kids that feel that way about Nick.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. Showed up to work every day and just wanted to win.
Yep.
That's it. That's all he wanted. He just wanted to play football and win. Not difficult. And there were times he made it look exceptionally easy.
Yeah. He's great.
He's one of the best to ever do it in this Browns uniform, for sure.
Were our veterans or our alumni in town?
We did an alumni barbecue yesterday.
Was that man here? Dan Fike, was he here?
I was told yes. I never saw him.
I thought I saw him talking to Batonio.
I didn't see him because it was on my list. I was like, hey, maybe Dan can come upstairs. We can relive Hawaii.
So I'm pretty sure it was him.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure there's a picture on our Instagram or one of our social channels.
He was on a list to come, but I never saw him.
So, yeah, like he came up to me. I don't remember if I was wearing a Browns. We were at a resort in Maui.
Yeah.
He lives there, and he came up to me. I must have had either me or the boys must have had a Browns something on, and he came up, and we talked for hours, Dan, and then his autographed football card is in the studio right to the over the left shoulder of Gibbe there. But yeah, I said, well, Nick, when you come to one of these things, come see us. You can't miss us. Come to the second floor. You can't miss us. But I'm pretty sure Danny Fike was here, which would have been cool. Would have been very cool to see.
Yeah, no, they all left early. Like the practice ended and like the alums were gone before the show.
Yeah.
So I was hoping to get a few of them, but everybody had ducked out. So.
All right, we have a Mailbag Friday that we're going to get to around 2:30. So if you have some questions, and remember, you can get those to us on the YouTube chat as well.
We're going to specialize on the YouTube.
Chat. So we'll get your questions in on the YouTube chat, and we will answer those coming up at 2:30. Go around the sports world, around the NFL. You have that to look forward to. We're going to go to Oakmont. You're one of your buddies.
One of my buddies. One of the hooligans.
He's going to be there. Guy Cipriano is going to join us. He is the editor-in-chief of Golf Course Industry, and we'll ask him some of these questions that we've been asking about what it is like over at Oakmont. So you have all of those things to look forward to, which are very, very nice. We will begin it with Kevin Stefanski from the podium from Mandatory Minicamp. That is coming up next. We are off and running. Before we do that, though, I should tell you those are your hot topics today, presented by University Hospitals, official healthcare partner of your Cleveland Browns. Coach Stefanski from the podium coming up next on a Friday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. We're presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Wallen is bringing his I'm the Problem tour to Huntington Bank Field on August 15th and 16th. Country sensations Miranda Lambert, Thomas Rhett, and Ella Langley. Tickets on sale now, huntingtonbankfield.com/Morgan Wallen. Don't miss out on this must-see summer show. This one I think is directed at you, Gibbe, from Hey, Bobby! Sorry I missed the mailbag yesterday. I worked a 14-hour night day and crashed listening to me and Siciliano. Do you want a hour-long mailbag, 2 to 3? So, you want a mailbag, kids? Bobby's ready. He's ready to go. God bless him.
And any leftovers? We're going to need Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday next week, too.
And we did confirm that Dan Fike was here. We saw
Yes.
it on the social, so we were right on that. Yeah. All right, time to head to the podium presented by Vivid Seats. Purchase your official fan experience package day for the ultimate game day. Here's your head coach, Kevin Stefanski.
Guys worked.
You're down 8 minutes.
Pleased with what we got done today. We'll be back inside for more meetings, a walkthrough, and a bunch of NFL mandatory meetings that we're trying to knock out in this camp, and then back out here tomorrow. But really pleased with the work that the guys put forth today. With that, I'll take any questions.
Kevin, the kind of the modified 7-on-7 that you guys are going on there with the offensive line, and what's kind of the process that you're trying to? What's the thing you're trying to accomplish?
Yeah, I think with 7-on-7, you're always looking for ways to get that as close to a team drill without making it an 11-on-11, which you certainly can do. It's harder to do that in the way the rules are written in the offseason program. So when you do 7-on-7, you've seen some teams walk out there with bags or tennis rackets or something. So this is something that we're trying to do is put our offensive line out there, let our other offensive linemen run games and stunts so they're still working their blitz pickup, and the quarterbacks get to feel the pocket, get to feel what that's like.
Are you trying to get as many reps to the 3 new quarterbacks as you can before you get to training camp? I'm excluding Flacco because his reps were really reduced.
Right. Yeah, just try to be intentional about everything, Tony, and certainly Joe had fewer reps today. That's obviously on purpose, and just trying to find out, get as much of an evaluation on the guys as we can.
It looked like Dylan obviously went first in your first set of 11-on-11s, and it looks like, I don't know, it looked very efficient, like the lights are really starting to come on for him.
Yeah, I'm pleased with all the young guys, Mary Kay, and their development. There's a lot that goes into this, and these guys work extremely hard. It's something that I would say each position, we're asking them to do something that is a little bit different than what they did in college. And certainly at the quarterback position, there's a lot that goes into it. These guys are all well coached when we get them, but there's things in the NFL game, just the rules are different in some areas. So I think all these guys are making really good progress.
Kevin, this is the first time we've seen Deontay Johnson out there. What are your impressions on him?
Yeah, Deontay, doing the job, obviously getting up to speed with terminology and those type of things, and I think we'll just continue to work. But it's good to have him out here.
In terms of your play action passing game, how do you think the 2 rookies are adapting to it?
Yeah, I would say for us, Tony, from a system, we want to be able to get under center and run play action, be in the gun and run play action, be in the pistol. I mean, we don't want to limit ourselves in any way. I think the quarterbacks as a group are all capable of doing all of that. I think that's the really fun part with this group of quarterbacks. They can kind of do it all. I think it's an impressive group across the board, but I don't think there's a desire to you have to do this or you have to do that.
Gabriel did much of it at Oregon?
I don't think anybody's done much of it in the college game. I was at a high school camp last night. Coach Lombardo and the St. Edward Eagles had their quarterback camp for young kids, and I went over to see Coach Lombardo, and he was teaching under center. And he said, how many of you guys are under center in grade school? And not very many hands went up. So I think as we get them out of high school, out of college, there's just fewer reps of those going around. So not many guys come in the league with under center.
What about Miles? How nice to see Miles in the house, and just looks like he's obviously in great shape and has worked hard.
Yeah, good to have Miles in the building, obviously being around his teammates, and as you can imagine, is in great shape. And it's good for us to just see where these guys are, get some work in, and obviously expose them to some of the different nuances to what we're doing.
How important just are the conversations between the quarterbacks themselves to getting, not just the rookies on, up to speed, but even a guy like Joe, on the same.
Yeah, I've told you guys before, and this is the truth, and it's true today even. I thought the discussion that occurs in the quarterback room is outstanding. It's fun. It's high-level discussion. It's new for the two young guys, but to hear the experiences of Joe, Kenny, Deshaun, I think it's an impressive thing for those young guys to absorb. And there's a lot of different stories that we hear of the guys, and we have different reps from their careers that they can talk through, but all of that is just invaluable for a young quarterback.
Will Tillman and Woods be able to do anything this week?
We'll see. Yeah, they're working hard. They're getting close.
And what does that mean for your young guys, Sean?
Yeah, more reps. Yeah, more reps for those guys, and we've asked a lot of them. They've done a great job. They work extremely hard. Coach O'Shea, Coach Bravo Brown are working hard with those guys to get them up to speed.
Hey, Kevin, you've always been such a Nick Chubb fan. So did you just comment on him getting his chance with Texas?
Yeah, obviously, excited for Nick. I haven't talked to him yet, but reached out to him. He's you guys know how I feel about him. He's a huge part of our success here, a huge part of this franchise. So we wish him luck, and it's something that we'll obviously stay in touch with him throughout this year.
When's the last time you did talk to Chubb?
Over in the offseason at some point. Yeah.
Kevin, you mentioned with the veteran quarterbacks, including Deshaun, how involved is he in those meetings behind the scenes, and what do the young guys get out of his presence? Yeah,
that's the value we have, and veterans in that room. Deshaun's, as you guys know, not practicing, but he's rehabbing, attacking his rehab, and being a resource for young players, which I think is a great message about being a great teammate, being available to all your young players, young and old, being available to your teammates.
And what do you think he gets out of being here in the big?
Yeah, I would hope any player that's here, whether they're rehabbing or practicing, whatever it is, I think there's value in being around your teammates.
Kevin, we were talking about modifying 7-on-7 a little bit to help the quarterbacks feel the pocket. I imagine that's an effort to try to help them play on time. Is that accurate?
I'd say it's all of the above, Nate. I'd say it's playing on time. It's under spatial awareness. It's feeling where the guard's going to be, feeling where the tackles are going to be. It's finding lanes to throw. When you have a shallow cross coming from left to right, you have to find that lane in the B gap, the C gap as it moves across. So it's just trying to give them a little bit more of a visual. I've been exposed to people have done it 1,000 different ways. But this is just one way that we feel like is valuable. And it's also valuable for our offensive line because they can work their stunts and games during that time.
When it comes to
couple more,
that position, going through the progressions the way you want, getting rid of it when you want, how hard is that?
Well, I think it's the bedrock of being efficient on offense is getting through progressions on time and accurately, obviously, once the ball comes out. But being able to get through a progression is not as easy as it sounds. Your eyes are studying the defenders and seeing what they're doing, and then ultimately you're listening to your feet, to quote an old Gary Kubiak line. I mean, you have a prescribed drop for a play, and that drop and those hitches will take you where the ball is supposed to go. So whenever you do 7-on-7, naturally that's an advantage offensive drill because there's no pass rush, but you want the quarterbacks to put themselves in the game as much as they can and stay true to their feet, stay true to their progression.
Kevin, Joel last week was talking about increased toughness, feeling like there's increased toughness, emphasis on that. How much has there been a topic of conversation, not just with the offensive line, but across the board, increasing toughness, building that up a little bit?
Well, I think the easy part is to talk about it. That's the easy part you can do. I think the hard part is making sure that we have, players, coaches, we're putting them through a program that is callousing up our bodies, our minds. So the work is hard, but the easy part would be to talk about it.
All right, there you go, Coach Stefanski from the podium from Minicamp. Those presented by Vivid Seats, purchase your official fan experience package today. For the ultimate game day, we will go boots on the ground to the U.S. Open coming up next over at Oakmont. It is carnage on day 2 over there. We'll have a little fun with that coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Valley Bet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Learn the game, meet the future stars, and have a blast. Kick off your summer with your youth football camp series in partnership with University Hospitals. Meet the 2025 Browns rookies from June 16th through the 20th. Learn more at browns.com/youthfootballcamps25. And now we head out on the Twisted Tea Hotline, brought to you by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it Twisted Cleveland. Guy Cipriano joining us, publisher and editor-in-chief of Golf Course Industry. Guy, thank you so much for taking the time and going easy on Gibbe in the Hooligans. I'm told that you typically do. Is that fair?
Well, thanks for having me. It's a joy to be on. Gibbs is fun to play with, and it's quite the day at Oakmont. This is a little bit different than Wednesday night league play.
little different setup. Guy, for those of us watching it who can't get over there, how would you describe the conditions that these guys are playing on?
Okay, Bo, take the toughest golf course you've ever played and add about a dozen shots to that.
Okay, so I've played Deerfield Village, and that's the toughest one I've ever played. So even 10 plus that.
Yeah, have you played it under tournament conditions, though?
Yeah, 2 weeks before the tournament. So close.
Okay, yeah, this is just absolutely brutal out here, and it hasn't even firmed up. So just a little bit of background about where Oakmont's at. May was the wettest May on record in Allegheny County, which is the county that Pittsburgh's in, and that's where Oakmont is. So they really don't quite have the fire in the golf course that there was in 2007 when Angel Cabrera won with +5. However, this is a big however, in 2023, they did a golf course restoration. Gil Hance came in, worked with golf course superintendent Mike McCormick and the officials at Oakmont and the USGA, and they expanded the greens by more than 2,000 square feet. And you're like, well, so what? What does this have to do with scoring at the 2025 U.S. Open? Well, that has opened up a lot of hole locations that did not exist in previous U.S. Opens here. And where are those hole locations, Bo and Jason? They are tucked. They are, back left, back right, front left, front right. When they had the hole location sheet come out around 9 p.m. last night, I kind of just looked in my head, even though this golf course doesn't have maybe the fiery or the feistiness in it and the bounce, I was just thinking that this is going to be a high-scoring day. And right now, we're about halfway through the second round, and the average score is around 75, which is 5 over par. And only 2 players who have completed 36 holes are under par at this point, Sam Burns and Victor Hovland.
I can't believe Burns shot 65. I just can't even.
No.
It just is it's just nuts.
Yeah, it's almost 10 shots below the scoring average today. Gained 10 shots on the field, almost.
How would you describe, obviously a lot is made, and we've seen balls just, I watched Scotty this morning. He's hits a tee shot. It goes into the rough. It's gone. The ball is gone. As you've walked it, what is that condition? How would you describe it to the audience? How thick that is?
Okay, so I was here on Monday, and it was wet out because it got doused on Sunday, and I was walking on the rough, the left of the first hole, and from about 150 yards into the green, I stepped on 3 Pro V1s that had just been buried from all the member play before they closed the golf course down to member play a few weeks ago. So think about that. That means that the rough has not been mowed down to 2 or 3 inches probably for the entire season. And there are probably even more Pro V1s in there, too. So this week they have shaved it a bit. The USGA Chief Championships Officer, John Bonenheimer, said that they're trying to keep it around 5 inches. They've gone out and get this. Maybe you guys have seen the images on social media. They have members of the golf course maintenance team with push mowers. They'll come out with 2 or 3 dozen of them, and they're push mowing just a little bit off that top of that rough to keep it at 5 inches. And then in the morning, this is something that you don't see. They have people go around with the golf course maintenance crew, volunteers. They have 200 volunteers helping a 50-person golf course maintenance crew with backpack blowers and leaf rakes, and they are fluffing up all the rough inside the ropes so that the ball drops down to the bottom of it.
That's awful. It's not bobolink, guy. Here's my question.
Yeah, we complain about the springtime rough in Northeast Ohio, right? They can't get motors on it because it's too wet.
Now, you did see a little history today. Did you see a hole-in-one in person today?
Yeah, it was funny. I was following Justin Thomas, Brooks Koepka, and Minwoo Lee, and the group ahead of them was teeing off on 6, and I was standing by 6T because that's near 5 green and the fairway on 5, and Justin Thomas was getting ready to hit his second shot from about 100 yards on the 5th fairway, and he was waiting for Victor Perez to hit just out of courtesy. You don't want 2 players hitting at once in the U.S. Open, and lo and behold, Victor Perez pulled out from 192 yards front left hole location on number 6, and it was kind of a subdued celebration. Nobody really knew what was going on. It was pretty quiet. I would think that if something like this happens in the afternoon, it might be a little bit rowdier. But yeah, it's the first one I've seen in person in a long time. We have a former hooligan who had 2 in one season, but I wasn't fortunate enough to be there for those.
Guy, this is probably the answer to, this is as close as we're going to get to a major championship in the state of Ohio. I mean, there's none on the schedule. There's no plans for one anytime, anywhere, any place soon. It's probably going to have to be making this trip over to Pittsburgh. For the folks who want to go over, because the U.S. Open's going to be there, it looks like about every 6 years or so at Oakmont. How is the fan experience there? I had heard some complaining about the pedestrian bridges crossing over the turnpike there. Like, what is the spectator experience been like over there?
Well, you're absolutely right. There will not be a men's major championship played in Ohio anytime in the next 2 decades. I know Inverness Club in Toledo is pumping really, really hard, but if you look at the USGA and the PGA, they have their sites set pretty much through 2050, and Oakmont is one of the USGA's anchor sites, along with Pinehurst, Pebble Beach, Shinnecock Hills. Wingfoot has a few on the rotation. So, yeah, Ohio is absolutely out of it. The good thing is it's an easy drive from Cleveland to Oakmont, which is northeast of Pittsburgh. It's basically 2 hours down the turnpike. The logistics aren't bad. Yes, you did bring up the pedestrian bridge. Bo and Jason, this dates myself, but the first golf tournament I ever went to was the 1994 U.S. Open at Oakmont, and they only had one bridge across the turnpike then. So now they have 3. They're able to get maintenance vehicles over. Players go across a separate one, and then fans go over one. I think today I was waiting 10 minutes at one point to go across it. So as bad as some of the images look, it's not quite what it used to be. The fan experience is pretty good. The reason Oakmont's on the rotation is, the history of the club. It's hosted a U.S. Open every decade besides the 1940s when there was World War II. Since the 1920s, they're hosting its record 10th. So the golf course is historic and a brutal test, but the infrastructure here is amazing. There used to be a public course, which I remember playing as a child, called Oakmont East, up above the 2nd and 3rd hole. That's just now all infrastructure for U.S. Opens, and a few years ago they bought a 22-acre plot across the street just for parking. So in terms of tournament infrastructure, Bo and Jason, it's the best I've seen besides Augusta National, and it's a darn good fan experience. And hey, if you want, you can go and get tickets online pretty easily if you're willing to pay, and it's the closest we'll get to a major championship in Northeast Ohio. I know Oakland Hills has one in the 2030s, so I guess it depends what part of Cleveland suburbs you live in, but this is right down the road, and it's a great place to watch golf, and it just oozes history. You feel it the moment you walk onto the grounds here.
Did you like it better with trees or without?
I was talking about this today with a friend who's not an agronomist, and hopefully none of my agronomist friends are listening to this, because trees are bad for turf health, as a lot of people know. It looks really, really strange when you stand up on the 9th green in the clubhouse and look down, and you just see this sea of green. There's some on the periphery. It is the closest thing to maybe an inland links course we have, so I do think that that's pretty cool, but it is kind of strange that a club has an iconic logo of a squirrel, and there's no squirrels to be found anywhere on this property. So that's a loaded question for me in my world. Oakmont's always been lovely, and I like it just the way it is right now, and I'm sure it'll evolve over the next 4 or 5 decades, because all golf courses do, and that's just the nature of golf course maintenance and golf course design and playability and aesthetics and that type of thing. So I'm sure there'll be another iteration of Oakmont down the road.
This was fun, man. Thank you so much for your perspective and time. Greatly appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate you having me.
All right, there you go. Your buddy.
There you go.
There he is. Look at that guy locked in. Guy Cipriano joining
Goes
us,
to-
publisher, editor-in-chief, Golf Course Industry. So that was right in his wheelhouse, the trees, no trees.
Yeah, I was, and he knows the history. That was a good question about the whole major thing. It sucks.
It's just the truth. It does suck.
Yeah.
There's not a Firestone obviously could, and I know they have a senior major coming up. I want to say there next weekend. And those are nice. They do a great job with it, but it's not the same as a major. And I think because it's out of the PGA mix now, I don't know if it'll ever be considered again for it. Inverness, maybe it's long enough now, but that was always something that was happening. There really is only one in the state, and it's Muirfield Village, that is set up for it in every way, stadium golf and all of that. But Jack is not going to not play the Memorial Tournament. And when they moved the PGA to August, it takes Muirfield out of it because he's
Into
not
April,
giving that up.
I'm sorry. Or May.
I'm sorry, into May.
Yeah.
Yeah, it used to be August, into
Yep.
May. When they moved it from August to May, that took it out of it because that course is very different in May than it is in what you get in August. But that's the one course that could do it. And I've even asked Jack about that. He didn't particularly like it, but I've even suggested, like, would you play the Memorial Tournament at Scioto, which is going to host the U.S. Senior Open next year? Would you play that at Scioto for a year and then let the U.S. Open be played at Muirfield once? And they're not really interested in that.
No.
So
No, they're
yeah,
not.
no. The closest we're going to get is Oakmont. That's where it is because it's all booked up from that point on. Second hour of the program up next. Among the topics, we'll go around the sports world, update you on some NFL news of the day as well. A little bit of mailbag. Gerard Cherry's going to drive the program a little bit for his observations from minicamp. You have that to look forward to, which is nice. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Well, the countdown is on. Browns football will be here before you know it. Lock in your spot now as a Browns season ticket member and score the lowest prices with no deposit required. Buy online and check out your view for every epic matchup of the 2025 home slate. Visit browns.com/tickets now. Let's get a little flavor from this week's mandatory mini camp. Let's start with new offensive line coach Mike Bloomgrren on DeJuan Jones.
Yeah, I think DeJuan's done some good things. You talk about like what you've seen this offseason just as the OSP started. You talk about the steps that he's taken. He's been at everything. He's attacked his rehab, and he's lost some weight. So I think those are good starting points. I think there's so much good in the package that is DeJuan Jones, things that certainly you can't coach, from a length, a size standpoint, athleticism. There's a lot of good in there, but he's certainly not a finished product.
He's got to stay healthy.
Yeah, it starts there.
He's just got to stay healthy. And he was in here with us earlier in the week, and he looks great.
Yeah.
He's dropped some LBs. He's been here. I can tell you because as I walk in, he walks out almost every day because he's been here all morning rehabbing.
Yep.
So he looks great, and it's just about can he stay healthy. If he can stay healthy, and this is the cool thing about I don't think you could ever question DeJuan Jones's why. Like his give a damn level is very high, and I think as long as he is if he can stay healthy, then the gains on that financially are just out of this world because he is a stud. When he's healthy, he is a stud tackle.
Yeah. Now he's got to learn to play left tackle, and he had some baptism by fire moments this week going up against Miles.
Yeah, that'll do it.
I mean, Miles at one point in a play yesterday took 2 steps and was by him and at the quarterback. Mm-hmm. That will happen, but that's just needing to learn and getting the reps down and being able to play that position. If anybody can attack it and be successful at it, I think DeJuan can.
Yeah, but we need him to. He's because otherwise. If he can't stay healthy, then you have to, and you're going to have to address tackle next year in the draft anyway. But like,
you have an older line.
You do. It got old quick.
Yeah,
interior and on the exterior. So if DeJuan can be healthy and play to what we all know he can, then that would be a very, very big help. Here's wide receiver coach Chad O'Shea asked if wide receiver Deontay Johnson has a lot of catching up to do.
I would say this: anybody new to our system, which Deontay is, has a long way to go. Whether it's a rookie or a free agent acquisition or somebody that we signed in the offseason. So I think with all of our new players, there's always a long way to go. Certainly, he's trying to get out here and get caught up to speed, learning our offense, learning how we do things, and learning his teammates. So training camp, he'll be here, and we look forward to working with him. And the more he can be out there, the more he has an opportunity to play.
He is the answer to. It's kind of a lottery ticket. If he's right and healthy and good to go and locked in, then receiver can change in a hurry. I was talking with Andrew and I were talking about this yesterday. Like him and Tillman are the two guys who that the ceiling on both those guys is a little higher than the other guys that are there outside of Jerry. So if he can be there, then that room looks much better, much better.
Well, you need them both.
Yeah.
Because outside of Jerry Jeudy, I mean, Jamari Thrash looked good this week, but again, he's going from year 1 to year 2. Tillman, can do it. You've seen him do it, but injuries have plagued him a little bit. The concussion last year was pretty serious, obviously. Deontay said, I had a bad year. I had one bad year. I've had 5 good ones. I had 1 bad. Okay, I'm counting on that.
Yep.
We need that in a desperate way because we have to have guys that can get downfield to open up everything underneath for the tight ends and running backs.
Yeah, there's no question that is needed. The Great Hoff was on RBS earlier this week. Let's start with the question of can someone stand out in minicamp and separate themselves from the pack?
I think you can make a difference, and I think the guys in that room really will start to see players separate themselves at that quarterback position, and they'll start to understand where that pecking order is. I think it's a little bit harder for a fan, even if I were sitting at practice after playing for 11 years with the Browns, because I don't know exactly what the quarterbacks are being told on that play. I don't know where the reads are. It's a little hard to tell. Yeah, you can tell if somebody completed a pass, but it's scripted, for success or for certain things to be seen in that practice. Like maybe they want to have Shedeur see blitzes from his left side. They want to see if he can escape to his right. So they're putting him in situations they want to see him in. So it's really not an apples to apples comparison from a fan standpoint. But if you're in those meeting rooms and you're sitting there with those quarterbacks, you're sitting there with those other players, those receivers. Like, that's the people that'll really start to be able to tell you, like, hey, this guy's really doing a great job. He's as advertised, or this person's separating himself, or Flacco still looks really good. That's where you'll really start to be able to tell, and where you'll have guys separating themselves. And then it'll kind of set you up, because I think going into training camp, you'll get a better idea of, all right, this is our starter right now.
Right.
And then this is where those other guys are falling.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we've been saying all week, all the pieces matter. And so every chance you get, we at that same event I've referenced a couple times, there was a young boy who asked a question about, he asked AB, who practices the hardest, which was, great question. AB answered, look, I mean, they all, he wasn't going to do, name someone by name. But I followed up and I said, and I think this is true, there is no time to not go your hardest out here. It's an hour and a half, an hour and 15 minutes. It's so minimal, and it's your job. And so, like, if you're out here half-assing it in the league, you won't be in it long.
Correct.
It's kind of the answer. So, like, and for so many guys, like, every single piece, every rep is so critical to trying to sustain or create an NFL career. There really is no time.
Well, think about it. You had guys from college, first or second-year players that – their colleges paid them to go there and play football.
Yeah.
And you came in here and you go, all right, great, I'll do my thing. You'll pay me to do this. Oh, wait, there's 90 people here. 53 are going to make the roster.
Yeah.
And that back end of the roster could change. All of these guys are playing for livelihoods.
Yep.
To feed their families. And we can talk about how much a player makes or doesn't make. Fine. I understand, they're compensated and compensated very well. That's what sports is. But the difference between being in the league and not being in the league, there's a fine line, and it's a slippery slope, and you have to be at your best this time of year especially, because this determines your reps come training camp.
Yeah, and if you slip down that slope too far, it's really tough to dig your way back out of it.
It 100% is. And then, like, if you're a third or fourth string guy, you might get in 11-on-11, 7-on-7s in training camp, you might get 4 reps, 5 reps. And if you don't stand out, you're just a guy.
Yep.
And then you're gone.
Absolutely. Here is Hoff on RBS, what the players need to do over the next 5 weeks before camp officially starts.
More than anything, I think, especially for the veteran guys, but even for the rookies too, you got to have that clear head, right? You got to get away from football. You got to get away from the media. You got to get away from all that pressure. You're still focused on, all right, what are the things that I don't do very well? How do I work on them? You're not only are you doing your lifting and your conditioning, but you're doing position-specific work.
Yeah. I mean, Kevin talked about that, the players. We've talked about that a lot. It's you got to clear your head a little bit. So 5 weeks off for those guys, and then they'll be back for training camp. In non-Browns news, busy yesterday down in Columbus, athletic director Ross Bjork. I'll summarize this is some of the kind of the big headlines from this. Number one, they have to give away $20.5 million now because of the House settlement. They have to pay that money to certain players. They decided that they're going to pay football, men's basketball, women's basketball, and women's volleyball are the 4 athletic programs at Ohio State that are going to receive money from that, and that the last 2 for Title IX reasons. And the reason they picked volleyball is because of the importance it is in the Big Ten. So he also reiterated they're going to keep all 36 varsity sports, which is just impossible for me to wrap my head around that they're going to do that. Ohio State currently has more men's sports than Texas has total sports, and they're the most like athletic departments in the country. Just to give you an example of how big it is. Everything with college sports is going to change every day. There's going to be lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit. None of it. Write it all in number 2 pencil. Don't write anything in ink because it's not worth the paper it's written on if you do. One of the things that's been an issue all year for them, all offseason, has been the idea of noon games. Ohio State fans are fatigued that basically every big game they play has to be at noon. Ross Bjork, who is awesome, is the athletic director at Ohio State now. He had some comments about that yesterday. Probably the most direct I've ever heard an Ohio State administrator discuss these type of matters, which is why I like him so much. Here's Ross.
Look, I think our program, our fans deserve some marquee night games. But really, at the end of the day, there's no flexibility in the contracts. Fox bought the noon window, CBS bought the afternoon window, and NBC has the night window. And then the Big Ten Network and Peacock, layer into that. So what we need is more flexibility. Can that happen anytime soon? I don't know. But I think every program should deserve the right to have way more flexibility. We have carried the day for Big Noon. There's no question about it. If you look at the viewership, so we understand why Fox went with Big Noon. We understand why we're picked all the time.
Yeah, they're picked all the time because they deliver ratings, and there's
Correct.
really only two programs in the Big Ten that can deliver ratings at noon, and it's Ohio State and Michigan. Everything else it falls off a cliff pretty dramatically. What I mean by carry Big Noon is Ohio State, especially, and Michigan to a lesser extent. You can play Ohio State Rutgers at noon and get 3.5 million people to watch. Michigan's close, but Ohio State's the only one that can do that. You cannot do that with, for example, Penn State. Penn State has to play Wisconsin or another decently branded in order for them to get around 3 million. So the reality is that Ohio State is way overtaxed by playing Big Noon. It was all in the fine print of the contract they signed with Fox. Fox has the first 3 picks in the television draft, and inevitably they pick Ohio State, Michigan first, and usually the big non-conference game for Ohio State second. The reason that they didn't get Oregon last year is because you can't play at noon in Eugene. And so the other part of this is the Big Ten added 4 teams on the West Coast that can't play at noon. So there's no way to ever play USC, UCLA, Washington, Oregon at noon in that window. So what that means is that until 2029, when this contract is up, I really believe this to be true. Every top 10 game Ohio State plays in the Horseshoe will be played at noon. And that sucks. And the fans are sick of it. And I don't blame them.
Yeah.
They should be.
Here's my question. Because we talk, he mentioned all the networks.
Yeah.
What's going on Big Ten Network?
With what?
With anything.
What do you mean what's
like
going
college
on?
Football? Like, do they still have?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, they got a game at noon, 3:30 and 7. It's Rutgers, it's Maryland, it's Minnesota, it's Illinois, it's Northwestern, it's Purdue, it's Indiana. Dude, think of the garbage brands in that league.
Yeah.
There's a ton of them.
There's haves and have-nots.
Oh, dude.
And there are just a couple haves.
There's 8 teams in that league that can't draw 1 million people to watch. Half the league is nonsense. Doesn't mean their football programs are. I think their football programs, some of them are very good and are probably better than they get credit for. I'm talking about their branding. Who cares about Purdue football other than people who went to Purdue? I'll wait.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're not wrong. I don't know what you if you're Big Ten Network, what do you? How, are you able to sell that? Are you able to sell those games?
They built that conference on the idea of cable buy mattering forever, and cable buy doesn't matter as much anymore. It still matters, but it doesn't as much, and so that's why they added Maryland and Rutgers. They could, if you were to jump in a DeLorean and throw a banana in it in Mr. Fusion and go back, they had a chance after they grabbed Nebraska. They could have grabbed Texas and Oklahoma State probably. That I would have been a proponent of that, but. There was talk of Kansas too, but you could have got Texas and Oklahoma. That's what you should have done. That would have lifted Nebraska, would have given them people to play with in their sandbox, would have kept Texas recruiting open for Nebraska, so they could have done that. Traditional rivalries with all 3. And then you would have had you would have been able to share kind of in the Big Noon responsibilities. You would have been able to share in all of it. They thought if they were in the New York and D.C. markets that would matter most, and it didn't matter in the moment other than for short-term gain of cable buy. And it sure as hell doesn't matter 10 years later, over 10 years later, when all that really matters is, are you a football entity that we can sell? Because none of those programs are. None of them are. Yeah. So, not that I don't have a lot to say on that.
Or haven't already said.
This is what we do. One other thing. This is interesting. Brian Rolap, longtime NFL executive who considered as a potential successor to NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, is leaving his post as the league's EVP to become the PGA Tour CEO. He's been with the NFL for 22 years. That's a tough job. PGA Tour CEO with the live stuff. How do you even – what a mess.
Why leave the league?
Just to prove – maybe go out on your own for 2 years until Goodell retires. So that you can prove to the owners that you can run it.
It's coming back.
Well, I would think it'd be pretty good if Goodell retires. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's what the whole thing is. Like, go show you can build your own sandbox and you can come back and play in ours.
Yeah, but how often does that actually work?
Well, I think Goodell's got a couple years left.
Yeah.
So now, to your point, I think the job he just took is one of the toughest jobs in professional sports.
And if you
I
fail
wouldn't
at
want
it,
to steward
you're not
that.
getting back in the sandbox.
Well, to be fair, how could it be worse than it is? They've lost half their best players to a rival tour. Yeah, it's not in a good place.
No.
At all. I mean, you got Rory doesn't talk for 2 weeks. Like, you got it's a bit of a mess.
Yeah.
As it currently stands. We'll get Gerard's view of what he saw from Minicamp coming up next. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Bally Bet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. More fun to your fandom with the Bally Bet Sportsbook app. Download today, get 50 back in bonus bets. You place that first bet of 10 or more. Bally Bet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. And now, Gerard Cherry joining us from the East Bank of the Flats, I believe is your location, my friend. All right, you were out here. I saw you. So the conversations that we had in the lobby now we'll have on the air, my friend. At least some of them. We'll keep some of it between you and I, obviously.
I heard that.
From your perspective, did this team get done what it needed to get done in minicamp?
Yeah, it did. And the main reason why I say that, Bo, is because of the fact they set a tone. And that tone was No, we're not going to lollygag. We're not going to just prance around. We're going to do things with more intention and more intensity, and we're going to go out there and get after it. We're going to test you guys, and we're going to make it more physically challenging. They needed to do that because last year was not the case.
One of the things I had Kevin Stefanski in studio with me yesterday, and I didn't expect him to tell me the plan, but I know that he has one, and I know all of these reps matter. If you were him and you had this situation that we have at quarterback with 4 guys, incredibly different backgrounds, ages, all of it, it's a really diverse group. How would you conduct this competition to make sure that everyone is doing the same things? In other words, so that the playing field is level for every single guy to be able to try to win the job.
Great question. And what I would do, Bo, is I'd make sure there were an equal amount of underneath throws, intermediate throws, and deep throws. And I would also make sure some way, somehow, that I would scheme it so that the defense is giving me the same looks and who does better in those scenarios. But more so, what I would do is make sure that I want to see who's overcoming. And I already have a defense that's geared for this guy's failure, but who can still make a play? That's how I would go about it, and I would divvy it up, and whoever's making plays in situations where they're not supposed to make plays, that tells me that I have an elevator on my side, and I have a guy who can handle it. That's how I would go about it. And then, like I said, I give a nice distribution in which everyone's getting reps with the 1s, the 2s, the 3s, and the 4s, and I'm rotating.
To that end, how long can they keep this up with 4 into camp?
10 days maximum.
Yeah, me too. I'm with you.
10 days. Because at some point, once Carolina, or we go there rather, and Philly's on the horizon, yeah, you'll still have a chance to do that, and you'll probably single it down to 2 guys. It won't be 4 anymore, so that'll help the cause, so to speak. But as you get closer and closer to that game against the Rams, that guy needs to be identified in my mind.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I think that, and Kevin talked about this with me yesterday, and he's addressed it a couple of times, I know, throughout spring. Those joint practices are the most important things that are, and now those preseason games are going to be big too, and you're going to be on the sidelines for all those, but like all of those reps are going to matter for all of those guys in terms of the big picture. But to me, you've got to have 2 guys, 2, not 3 even, Gerard. You got to have 2 guys that are kind of in the competition at those 2 at those 2 joint practices, because I don't think otherwise it's spread way too thin. There just isn't enough time to get everybody the ample reps.
Right, because at some point, and we see each year, yes, you're still, I say the first 10 days of training camp are competition mode, and it's always competition. So let me preface it by saying that at some point you start to have to go down the path of formulating the bonds of a team, right? Mm-hmm. And not every man for himself mentality, or I'm trying to get mines, or I'm fighting for the starting position. I mean, you're always working towards a team mentality, but it really has to start honing in and starting with the messaging of we're a team. This is what we're going to accomplish. But in order to do that, it certainly requires that you have a guy who is pronounced as your leader on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, I don't think we're going to have a problem identifying those guys and putting them in a position of power to lead. Offensively, it has to be the quarterback in my mind. He has to play a preeminent part in the whole idea of leadership and directing his team and guys following his lead. So I think after 10 days, you start transitioning towards that. And at the end of training camp, when guys look around and see that the 90 guys that started with them aren't there, they can look across the field and identify that's a captain, that's a leader, that's a guy who's going to help us get there, and I'm going to follow his lead, or I'm going to do my part from a player-to-player accountability standpoint.
Give me one thought, all 4 quarterbacks, from what you saw this week.
Joe Flacco, I didn't see much activity, but I saw promise in that, in my mind, he's still the best quarterback out there. Go to Kenny Pickett. I saw a situation in which he had moments to where I said, okay, I see what they're thinking, I see what they're feeling in regards to him, but there needs to be more consistency with making plays. Same thing I felt with Gabriel as well, that, okay, you're getting great opportunities, make more plays, but I'm also encouraged by the fact that you bounce back from having a rough outing. And the same thing with Kenny Pickett as well. But with Gabriel, though, it took place in the same practice. With Kenny, it took place the next day. Mm-hmm. And Shedeur, to his credit, he's been consistently delivering the football. And that's really what I would say in regards to him, is that it's been consistent, and he's shown the most with throwing the deep passes as well.
He throws a nice ball, doesn't he?
Yeah, he certainly does. So
he
to his credit,
it well. Yeah. Yeah, he sees it well. He layers it well. I thought Dylan really shined yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Or, I'm sorry, Wednesday in the play action game.
Yeah. Well, like I said, that Wednesday, it started off rough.
Yeah.
And it was like 0 for 3 and not able to get the passes off, and it has something to do with, obviously, the protection, but it just wasn't clean. It wasn't what you wanted to see. But, again, once we got into that second half of practice, it was like a whole different quarterback was out there. The confidence was there, delivering the football, and just you could feel and sense his presence after that. So that was encouraging because a lot of people don't bounce back from that.
No, good point. All right, in terms of the other new guys, Schlesinger at linebacker, it's hard with Graham because we're not in pads, and so it's hard.
Right.
That's so difficult at D-tackle. But you can see Schlesinger run in space. You can see the two backs, and you can see Fannin. Did any of those have moments that you paid attention to over the last couple of days?
Yeah, I love the way Schlesinger ran across the field and was in the right position and just seems like a guy ready to go and make plays. So that you certainly appreciate. Harold Fannin, man, I haven't seen him drop a ball. It's like once the ball is in his vicinity, it's caught. And they went to him on back-to-back-to-back plays, and he showed no signs of fatigue, Bo. He showed no signs of saying, okay, I need a break or a blow or anything like that. So I really do think that we have something special in him. And you didn't even ask me about the rookies, running backs. Same thing with those guys. Yeah. I see explosiveness. I see guys who are understanding that it's about hitting the hole, and once you get into the open field, turn on the juice.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, they're all those guys they all look great. Young guys look great. It's an exciting class.
They look like they belong. They really do.
Gerard, to me, it looked like the defense had their swagger back a little bit.
Yes.
I didn't see that. We didn't see it in season, but I feel like there was a lot of chirping. There was a lot of talking, and this is a defense that knows they're deep. They have a ton of guys on that defensive line. Their secondary is well-rounded. The safeties, they've got some experience, and the linebacker crew, I know they've lost JOK, but they feel like they made up for it. This defense looks like they have their swagger back.
Yeah, no doubt about it. The swag was in full effect. The personality was out there, and you heard it, you sensed it, and they let the offense know. Every time they made a play and they dominated, that they, again, they pronounced it with no issues and no problems, and they were having fun. Now, the offense, they did their thing, but in comparison, it was not even close. It's like one was Mount Rushmore or Mount St. Helens rather about to blow up, and the other was a quiet scene in Mount Rushmore. So the defense being St. Helens and the offense being Rushmore. We need that same type of vibe on the offensive side of football, and I think we'll get that once we figure out what's going on with our quarterback situation. But the defense, to their credit, like you said, Gibby, they dominated, and they let you know about it.
So offensively, just a whole team standpoint, quarterback, obviously, biggest question. Is the second biggest question wide receiver?
I knew you were going to say that, and the answer is yes, it is wide receiver, because you pencil off Jerry Jeudy, and from what I saw the 2 days that I observed minicamp, it was clear to me that Deontay Johnson, with the guys who were participating, was your second best receiver. Mm-hmm. So now the question becomes, as he said yesterday, don't judge me on 1 year of my career. I've had 5 promising years in the National Football League. Don't judge me on what took place last year. I'm going to hold him to that and not judge him. But I certainly felt that he and Jeudy were in a class by themselves. And there are a couple other guys who have a great opportunity here. I like what I saw at Thrash. And
we need Ced Tillman. We got to see Ced Tillman do something.
I didn't see him. I can't comment on him because I didn't see him. But we do need him to do something. Yeah.
Gerard, I agree with you. I actually think, you don't need to – the quarterback is fine. Someone's going to emerge out of there. Might be a couple. I actually think receiver, either Deontay Johnson needs to revert back to what he was at the start of last year. Cedric Tillman needs to be who he was drafted. And even if both of those things happen, I still think you might need to add a guy. I think you need more weaponry in that room. And if those other two things remain ifs, then I think absolutely you have got to be aggressive and try to acquire somebody else on the outside to be somebody that defenses have to contend with.
Yeah, because you want to be in a spot to where you don't want to have a situation. As a former DB, I could tell you, there are teams you'd play against, like, no one who's going to run by me on this squad. And we have to identify that guy. Who's going to be our over-the-top guy? Who's going to be our guy to where a defensive coordinator and a secondary coach are saying, we have some concerns here. We need to establish that, because if it's all intermediate underneath stuff, we can nickel and dime with that. But at some point, you know what's going to happen. Teams are going to adjust. So we certainly need a guy who can, one, do that very well. We got that in Judy, and I think you got that in Johnson. But if you are a deep threat guy, you have a great opportunity right now to present yourself.
Yeah.
It's 40 days till this team's back. 40 days till we start training camp in the season. What's your advice if you could talk to this football team, and you could talk to them yesterday at 11:59 before they left at noon?
It's a really simple message. You did not do all this hard work in the offseason to let it go with 40 days and 40 nights of inactivity. Though you have a break, find balance. Find a way in which, one, you're still working out, you're still in that book, and you're still studying and being a student of the game, and you're taking care of business. But more importantly, you are getting your mind, body, and soul ready to play football for 201 days in which you're going to give your all. You're going to sacrifice yourself mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, so that you do not play a part in being a 3-14 football team. And on top of that, stay the hell out of trouble and mind your own damn business.
All right, I'll get you out of here on this. This is how I started the show today. If you were a unencumbered mid to early 20s NFL player and you were given 40 days off, where would you go?
Gerard would not own a shirt. I can say that.
Where are you going? No. You got an extended break. Where are you going?
See, now this is a problem because Gerard is just expecting from the past that Gibbs has alluded to, the guy who had his shirt off in the club. He's probably in Southeast Asia or the Maldives somewhere.
I knew it. Yeah.
Or South America. But knowing what I know now,
yeah,
let that stuff, when you retire, you can do all that, dog. There's nothing wrong with being in Northeast Ohio right now. It's the perfect time to be here.
That's what
or
I said.
Go somewhere high elevation and train there. And that's the problem with this 40-day deal. A lot of guys think, okay, that's a break.
Yeah.
There's no break. You are still, you need to come into training camp. On top of that, okay, I'm about to be old man Gerard right here. You don't have double days. So there are no excuses. You're not going to get physically worn out till you feel like you're going to die.
Yeah.
So what you need to do is put yourself, as Coach Stefanski's talked about it, harden yourself, toughen yourself. Don't wear yourself out, but at the same time, still push yourself at least 1 or 2 times a week during this 40-day absence of not being in training camp.
It's great talking to you, buddy, and we'll look forward to
You as
hearing
well,
you on the
man.
next level, my friend, as always.
Take care, guys.
All right, there he goes. Gerard Cherry joining us. The next level will follow us here in about 20 minutes or so. We will open up that mailbag coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of Cleveland Browns on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Serious Lawyers, Serious Injuries, 1-800-ELK Ohio, free case review. Elk & Elk's proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. Time for a quick little mailbag. Bobby's been doing work.
Bobby's got a lot going on.
Hey, Bobby!
Bobby's got enough segments for the next 2 weeks.
Enough for the clown, I think, was trying to get involved in that, too. These are the loyals.
Perfect. But I wanted to get to a couple.
Go ahead. Let's
J-Mac helping me out. Got a few from the YouTube stream,
Yeah.
so I want to do those.
And we'll keep doing that as the summer goes along. If you're on the YouTube stream and have a question, we will get those answered.
The complainer.
Okay.
He's got 2 questions.
Okay.
For a non-football mailbag question, would you attend a wedding without bringing your family/spouse?
If I had to.
Destination, and
Yeah.
Yeah. My wife's gone to plenty of weddings in the fall without me.
Yeah. My wife went last fall to one without me. No, I'm not crazy about it, but I will.
Oh.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah.
It is what it is. This is an interesting one. Rate the AFC North teams from 1 to 4 on how important winning the Super Bowl is this year from a fan perspective.
Ravens, Bengals, Steelers, us.
See, I think I'd put Pittsburgh 1.
No, Baltimore's 1.
From a fan perspective.
It's Baltimore. They got to win. I mean, how long are you going to have Lamar Jackson's prime and Derrick Henry still upright and running downhill? I think Baltimore and Buffalo have the most pressure in the whole league. I think all the rest of the league combined doesn't have those 2 teams' pressure. They got to win.
Okay, I'd put them 2 then. I'd put the Bengals at 3 because I think the Bengals also know. Bengal fans know they don't have a defense. Again.
They don't, but you're also, Burrow's 29, Chase and Higgins, you got those both signed. You're going to have probably one more year with Hendrickson once they get that resolved. I don't know that Pittsburgh can go from hey, nobody over here wants Aaron Rodgers to if we don't win the Super Bowl, it's a disappointment. Then they were all, we don't want Rodgers. Okay, well,
Okay.
I'm guessing you're happy about it now.
I would think.
Yeah.
But they're Pittsburgh fans, so
yeah,
there's a sense of intelligence level. There's a certain intelligence level that they don't necessarily meet.
Be careful, Gibby. Those are your people.
Shivy Bud 4. Could Jamari Thrash be a valid number 3? It might have to be.
Not an ideal world.
No.
But he can play. He looked good, and he physically looks good. But that's what I meant by what I was saying when I said, the ceiling for Deontay and said that allows for a 3-person receiver room and you're going to need 5 at least, to start it out. So, no, I think they need those guys to come along, and Thrash can play. But I don't think you want it. Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Robert Christie rounds out the YouTube section today. How's Mason Graham look? Nobody talks about him. It's true. No one. We're trying to get him in the studio next week, actually, with you.
Here's the hard part with Mace. This is a non-padded activity.
Everything.
So when you are a defensive tackle, how much can you do?
Yeah.
How much can you do? He looks great, and he's going to be leaders and all this stuff. But yeah, that part of it is the position, then part of it's the fact that you don't have any pads on.
Robert, I can tell you this. The first team defensive line that was out there for 11 on 11s the other day, on the final day, was your ends were Alex Wright and Myles Garrett. Your defensive tackles were Mason Graham and Malik Collins.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty good.
Yep.
And for him to be already in that first group in a very deep room, I think he'll take all day. Now in the individual workouts, looks super fast.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you don't have pads on, but he's deceptively quick. So there's a little something for you. A little something for the effort. Dog Pound Cleveland Brown want to know if you have ever been to the Cleveland Aquarium and would you rate it?
I've not been. I don't even know we had one.
The aquarium used to be at the zoo, and then it used to be out off of MLK way back when I was a little kid, and now it's down on the west bank of the flats. It was Ricky's wedding. You could see the shark tank.
I'll be damned.
In there.
There you go.
It's the closest I've been to the new one. I couldn't tell you.
Quaint and nice, guys.
Quaint and nice from Kev. There you go.
Yeah.
I'm a big natural history museum guy. We used to be
Huge.
members there when the boys were really little. That place was great.
Yeah. Nope. Agreed. All right. So we should get into these Bobby questions.
Bobby!
Do you think you could fight off 15 cats?
Yes.
That's what we're leading off with.
Yep. Yes, we
All right.
could. Yep, I could. Next.
I don't even know what that means.
That'd be easy.
What do you think of putt-putt courses? What do you think of putt-putt course would do if you brought your own putter? I have.
Nothing.
They don't
Welcome.
do anything.
They don't care. They're happy about it.
Yeah. By the way, there was a time growing up, the Memphis Kiddie Park. It's a great little park for kids under the age of 5.
Yeah.
Totally recommend it. It's still there. Awesome place. Big Dipper roller coaster.
Yeah.
Like it. Cool.
My in-laws took the boys there all the time when they were little. Yeah.
There you go. Memphis Kiddie Park. I grew up
Yeah.
there. There was a putt-putt course there.
Nice.
Do you know that putt-putt course at one time when ESPN needed filler would do putt-putt world tours? Or not world tour, but like a putt-putt
Like competition
tour, and they would broadcast from the Memphis Kiddie Park.
Oh, that's cool. No, I did not know
ESPN
that.
back in the day.
That's great.
Great putt-putt course. Great one down the street here, Bagley Road. There's a Dairy Queen. It's
That's
perfect.
what you need. You get yourself a blizzard, and then you play a little putt-putt. Nobody loses.
No one. There's also a driving range. Knock out everything.
There you go.
Yep. Do you have any ideas how we could solve the brain rot of America? Well, we have 1 minute left in this segment, and I
got too much on my plate, Bobby. I got too much.
I'm just trying to keep everybody.
What am I supposed to do with the fact that Herb Street named his most recent dog Bo and spelled it the same way that my name is spelled?
You should text him and find out.
Yeah. What are you doing here, man? Come on, Herbie. I guess it's a sign of affection.
Well, he can't spell it Bo the
You
other
can spell
way.
it the other way. Bo Jackson's the other way.
Yeah,
the
but-
other golden retrievers
Eh.
aren't going to make fun of him.
No. Dude, Bo, Michigan Bo. Schembeckler.
Well,
Can't
he
do
was a
Bo that
Buckeye
way.
too. He was a Buckeye too. He was on Woody's staff. He's got gold pants. He had gold pants. Can you imagine that?
No.
You think about how vitriolic that rivalry is, and that, of course, set it off the 10-year war. But the idea that Bo and Woody both coached at Miami, then Bo's on Woody's staff, and then he goes to become the head coach at Miami, then gets hired at Michigan. All of a sudden, a guy who was one of your closest friends at coaching goes to the most hated rival thing you hate more than anything in the world.
Yeah.
And then you guys compete for a decade.
Yeah.
Crazy.
30 seconds. What is the most out-of-pocket thing your kids have said recently?
NBC sent me an Instagram of how hard it is being the oldest son, and just how grueling it all is for him, and which then led to just a straight comedy back and forth between him and I that I just thought was incredible. I got to find this. He goes, so good night, love you, watch this. And it was this thing. And then I said, you do realize I was the firstborn as well. And he responded, so you know the hardships of having to provide and protect without being fragile.
Where'd that come from?
Oh my God. I said the hard knock life on the west side of Hudson. It was so good. He goes, real. My friends don't even know about the Boston Heights life. That killed me. That's a good job out of him. Very good job out of him.
Very good.
So much good job out of you too, Bobby. So much more to come. Cleveland Browns Daily 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, there you go, kids. Happy Father's Day.
Absolutely.
To everybody out there. Yeah, absolutely. Enjoy yourselves. Hopefully the rain comes in and gets out and you're able to enjoy yourselves and enjoy it. Should be a fun U.S. Open to watch. It's carnage over there this weekend, and then next weekend we're back.
What happens if they get rained out tomorrow? They play Sunday, Monday?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know how that goes.
They got rid of the full 18 Monday round. Now it's just the 2 holes aggregate.
30.
It's a good question. I don't know. I haven't looked at it to see if it's like all day rain there or what it is.
Yeah, I don't. It's not. It wasn't great yesterday. I don't know what today is.
Right now, the projected cut is +5. So there you go.
Oof.
Angel Cabrera won it at +5 in like 06. So that or 07. Next level's coming up next. Have a great weekend, everybody. Cleveland Runs Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.